You are listening to the Bright Life Podcast, all about ways to stay inspired, chase your dreams, and find more gratitude in the highs and lows of the journey. I'm your host, Jessica Johnson. I'm a business owner, a part-time digital nomad, a self-growth junkie, a believer in other big-hearted women, and am all about sharing tips, tricks, lessons learned, and encouragement so we can all live our biggest, brightest lives. You ready? Let's do this. Hello and welcome to today's episode. We have a real treat today. We have an amazing businesswoman, a mama of a few little kids, and someone who is here to share how she is revolutionizing the tech space with an amazing community. So I will give you her introduction, and then I'm so excited to learn from her alongside with you. Her name is Inbal Claudio, and she is a candle maker turned tech founder. Her passion for networking with women entrepreneurs has led her to create Like-Minded Collective, an influencer marketing platform and social community where female visionaries can collaborate and grow. She was born in Israel and, aside from a 4-year stint in North Carolina, has spent the majority of her life in Southern California, where she currently lives with her husband and 2 little daughters. So welcome.
Thank you so much, Jessica. I'm really excited to talk to you today.
I'm super excited to have you here. And, your bio tells us a little bit of your story, but maybe in your own words, do you want to catch us up on how you've evolved and grown into what you're doing now? You can give us just a little synopsis or whatever sounds right.
Yeah, sure. So I grew up in Orange County, California. I went to school here, went to college here. Um, I was never really big on college. I worked 2 to 3 jobs at a time, had internships. And so I've always kind of been a workhorse in that sense. Graduated college and did a little bit of PR. Was in the bar and restaurant industry, ended up staying there for longer than I should have because the money's so good. But eventually I wanted to own my own business, and I thought that going into real estate was the way to do that. So I got my broker's license, started my own brokerage, did that for a little bit, and just was not happy. I just didn't like essentially like disappointing clients with bad news or like things happening that were out of my control. I hated that. So I shifted and I went back to the corporate world where I worked for a couple years. And that's when I met my husband, my now husband. And a few months into dating, we were like, oh, let's just kind of start a business together.
Oh.
Just something to kind of make some extra money, like to travel or pay rent. And we decided on candles. We like to lead a very clean and healthy lifestyle. So a clean an all natural candle was something that we were really interested in making and selling. And it took us about 6 months to kind of learn how to make a candle for starters. And just, branding and building out our Instagram and, signing up for farmers markets and things like that. So my husband was in the military. And so it was a great business for me to start. It took my mind off of it when he was gone. And if and when we moved, I knew that I could take it with me. So that's kind of how my entrepreneurial journey started.
Wow, that's awesome. And you're so right. I didn't know that it was so hard to find a really good, clean candle in the beginning. I just assumed they were all that way. So you were kind of ahead of the game, I feel like, even carving out that niche.
Yeah, well, people just don't know. And it's so mind-boggling to me because when people are trying to have kids, the biggest thing that doctors will tell you is to get rid of all your candles, your toxic candles. And it's
Oh.
artificial fragrances. It's the paraffin wax. It turns, your walls black, your lungs black. It's harmful for animals, for kids. So everything we use is 100% all natural. So soy, all natural fragrances and oils, and we infuse our candles with real gold so they shimmer really, really nicely when
Ooh,
it melts. Yeah,
I love
that kind of
that.
sets us apart from all the millions of candle companies out there.
That's so cool. I'll definitely share a link if you want to your, candles and because now I'm like, "Oh, let me go get some of these." The gold and then the clean is so awesome.
Thanks.
So so then from the candle business, which is already amazing, even learning how to do all the branding and build that community, then now you also have built this other community as a tech platform as well, right?
Yeah, so I started my candle company. It's called Goldwick. I guess I should
Mhm.
mention that.
Yeah.
Um, I started my candle company in August of 2017. My husband and I were still living in Orange County, and in December we moved to North Carolina for his work. So I was doing tons of shows, farmers markets, events, like 3-day events, and it was amazing. And then I got pregnant and my
Oh,
daughter was born. So
congrats.
thank you. I could not do the 3-day shows. I couldn't even do a 1-day show because I was nursing
Yeah.
and just taking that time away was impossible essentially. So I needed to build out my online presence. And I figured I should do that through influencer marketing. And I say that in quotes because everybody talked about influencer marketing. And I just didn't really know how to do that. I searched on Instagram, and as I'm sure you and your listeners know, it's impossible to search on Instagram for something specific. Um,
Mhm.
so I just reached out to the wrong people. My messages were getting lost, or they were responding with their pricing, which was completely out of my budget. So I was getting really discouraged. I found influencer marketing platforms, which on paper sound great, but they cost like $200 to $500 a month to use their search engines, and they
Mhm.
had all these requirements, like business size, follower count for influencers. So there's nothing out there. And I knew that I was not alone. There were millions upon millions of influencers who are just starting out. There's brands and businesses that are just starting out and don't have a huge budget, but still want to build their brand. And so I decided when my daughter was 3 months old to start building out this tech platform. And that's kind
Ooh.
of how the idea came about.
That's incredible. What a neat kind of finding that need from your own experience. And you're like, there's got to be a better way to do this. And so, a lot of what you were searching, was it for things like as you're building your influencer marketing business, it's almost like looking for the exact right partnerships or niches or industries or deals? Is that kind of the main thing?
Exactly. Yeah. So for me, for example, I couldn't spend a lot on Instagram posts for influencers. And so I was looking to gift or pay a small amount, and there's no way to kind of sift through that. So, yeah, I was looking for different industries. I was looking for pricing, and those are the different criterias that you can search on my platform. It's called Like Minded Collective. And so you can search by
Mhm.
location, you can search by pricing for posts, for stories, for Facebook. You can search by industry, you can search by follower count, you can search, by keywords. So if you are an influencer, let's say, because you can search, influencers can search as well. You can search for a candle company if you're looking for a nice candle. So you can just hit candle and all the candle companies will come up. So it's super effortless. And that was the biggest thing that I wanted to, because all these other platforms, you have to set up a Zoom and you go through a 30-minute presentation with somebody on how
Right.
to use the platform. And it's so complicated. They have so many features, which is great for some people, but if you're just starting out, you don't need all that. You want something super easy and affordable and inclusive.
Right. And so does it work with both sides too, where if you are the candle company or people listening that have a product or a side hustle, but they're balancing a lot, can they go on there too and almost search for the influencer side of it? Like it almost goes either way.
Exactly. Yeah. So
Oh,
we
great.
have the influencer marketing aspect to it. So influencers, brands, and businesses can all search um, and build out their profile and all the everything on the platform. As I was building it, I really wanted to create a female community within the platform, just Because there's nothing better than connecting with women that are in your shoes and bouncing ideas off of each other and learning about digital marketing and having speakers and masterminds and webinars and things like that. So I incorporated that onto the platform as well. So it's really meant for anybody who is a female founder. So whether you're aspiring, whether you have $1 million company or you're an influencer or a brand, everybody is welcome on the platform. We have a community feed. So kind of think of it like Facebook, but better because we don't have any
Yeah.
restrictions.
Mhm.
So you
And a
can
similar audience too of people who have
exactly,
like-minded interests and everything, just like the name.
exactly. It is just like a place for you to promote your business, to talk about freebies, to ask questions. If you're going between two homepages for your website and you're like, I need help, like, what do you girls think? You can post that on there. You can post questions. You can post collaborations. You can post podcast interview requests. So it really is for any topic that you want to grow your business. So yeah, we do weekly masterminds, webinars, presentations, creative brainstorming. It really has turned into an amazing social community for female founders.
That's so smart, and it is so needed because, there's Facebook groups and things like that, but even with some of my students who are getting into copywriting and freelance and stuff, the groups, they are hard to wade through and to find the ones where you can just openly share about, "Here's what I'm working on, what do you think?" versus it being kind of prohibited by Facebook or whatnot, but people are so hungry for those communities before they maybe are in a position to go and purchase masterminds or things like that. So I love that you have facilitated that. And then there's another side too where there's more of the marketplace, but even beyond that, here let's like learn together, let's share, let's build our businesses and just have that support as well.
Exactly. And kind of like what you were saying, there's a lot of, I did a lot of market research and I talked to quite a few copywriters actually. And everybody has their own community for the niche that they're in. What's
Right.
different about this is that it is 100% inclusive. So you're going to find people who are virtual assistants. You're going to find web designers. You're going to find copywriters who work specifically in the health industry. You're going to find podcast hosts. You're going to find branding specialists for early stage founders. You're going to find pitch experts. I mean, everybody is so welcoming because everyone's from a different kind of department industry.
Mhm.
So it's nice because you can brainstorm with people in these Facebook groups of like your niche, but then on Like Minded Collective, you're getting the insights of people who are not necessarily in your niche, and it could be so powerful.
Right. So, where do you even begin in creating something like this? Because I'm envisioning there's people listening who have this idea, but it almost sounds too big for them at this moment, or it's like in another industry, or it's like, how do I even figure this out? And that's kind of how I would feel, even looking at some like building a tech platform and community. So, how did you navigate that and find your way to figuring it out and creating this thing in the world?
Yeah. So it's funny that you say that because when my daughter was 6 months old, I moved to back with my parents because my husband deployed for 6 months. And it was March of 2020. So right as COVID hit.
Mm.
And I was like, how hard could this be? Like, it's super easy. There's like a search function and a message board. Like, it should take 3 months and cost X amount of dollars. Well, what boy was I wrong. It took me about 2.5 years to go from idea to launch. I like to say I
Wow.
started with a 6 month old and I ended with a 2.5 year old and a 6 month old.
Oh, congrats for sticking it out that long too. That is such a feat.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, it I was learning something new every single day. I went through about 4 different developers, almost like I think it was about 7 or 8 launch delays. There were lots of issues, but that being said, if I would have known how long it would actually take and how much it would cost, I don't know if I would have started. So
True.
so I'm glad that I thought it was going to take 3 months because now I know that even if it takes 5 years, I'm able to do it. And
Yeah.
so to answer your question, whoever is out there who wants to take on a project that's bigger, too big, quote unquote, just do it.
Mhm.
Just do
Yeah.
it and take it step by step. And here's my biggest piece of advice, and I didn't do this in the beginning, is find people who are in your industry that are doing what you're doing that can help you move the needle. Um,
Mm.
whether that be a coach or like-minded people, or another entrepreneur or a mentor or an advisor, reach out to people and ask for help because I mean, I know so many people that are just willing to help other women. And that's
Yeah.
also the beauty of the platform is that there's so many people and they're willing to help, um, where you can just reach out. So Clubhouse is a really good app to use to reach out to people. Facebook groups are great. Instagram, follow people that are doing what you're doing and ask for advice, ask questions, um, and really lay out everything. Um, so you're organized because that's also
Mhm.
something that can definitely help.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there's this idea that it's intimidating or whatever to reach out, but I feel like in my experience, you'd be surprised how many people are like, no, I remember what it's like to be there. Let me save you a few years or months of figuring this out. And even if it's just, hey, can I hop on the phone for 15 minutes? I promise to be super efficient with your time, but this would mean the world to me. Here's what I want to know. People love to be able to share their stories and like like battle wounds and things that they've learned along the way. So I used to do that even years and years ago. I would reach out like to authors that I liked and I'd be like, can I have 15 minutes of your time? I want to be a writer one day. And I was amazed how many people
That's
would
so
be like,
cool.
sure. Yeah,
That's
you just never
awesome.
know. Yeah. What would you say about like what have you learned in building this community or even in getting the message out because you've done it now with two different companies, right? And so kind of what have been some of the biggest lessons in terms of getting your message in front of people and actually seeing something grow, seeing a brand grow?
I think that's a really good question. I think it all boils down to just being genuine in your approach. Before I even started working on this, I was reaching out to people and just saying like, "Hi, my name is Inbal. This is kind of the problem that I'm running into and this is what I'm building. I'd love to hear your thoughts." And just getting people's opinions on what I was building was amazing. And then trying to and that's how I started building my email list before I even started working on my platform. And some of those people have signed up. So it's really cool to kind of just reach out as yourself. And I reach out via Instagram message. I reach out or I post in Facebook groups like relevant questions. So
Mhm.
for example, in an influencer and small business Facebook group, I put like, what are some pros and cons to influencer marketing platforms you've tried in the past? And so I start conversations with people about their pain points. And I try to really dig deep and find out like what is working for them, what is not, what are they looking for. I conduct market research. So that's another way. I talk to people who are my target market and I approach the market research just by asking questions, not even telling them what my company name is or anything like that. So I'm building a rapport with them by asking about them.
Yeah.
Um, and that is really helpful so that by the time I get to my platform and I kind of tell them about it, they're like, oh my God, this is so cool, you know? Um,
Mhm.
so that that's kind of my approach. I started doing Facebook ads recently. I just relaunched my new homepage, and got my email campaigns all set up. So I started Instagram and Facebook ads. So that's been good. And I'm still learning how to
Yeah.
do that. I started a Pinterest page, which I heard you're supposed to do now. So that's been good for me. I've had that for about a month. And then I always just talk about my business to anybody and everybody that will
Mhm.
hear it. Go on podcasts, that's a big way.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's amazing. And what about would you say maybe it's hard to choose just one, but what was one of your biggest hurdles that you overcame in creating this business?
So,
And what did
like
you
I
learn
mentioned,
from it?
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, I went through 4 developers. That was by far my biggest hurdle because it was an industry that I'm so unfamiliar with, or was unfamiliar with. I'm very familiar now. Um,
Mhm.
but like my first developer that I hired was through a company. And so essentially there was a project manager who was overseeing the project. He didn't have any tech background, so he was the middleman with no experience. He was just the owner of the company. So that was horrible for me. But I learned from that and I found somebody else who was a developer. And he hired somebody else to do it. So he was managing the project. Well, that person outsourced it overseas without us knowing.
Oh my gosh.
Um, yeah, so that was a big issue we had. That was like 6 months. And at this point, I was already pregnant. So I was having like hormonal
Yeah.
bawling sessions to my
Oh.
poor husband very often. And then eventually he found a different developer who brought me to like 99% of the way. Um, it wasn't somebody that I could see myself moving forward with once it launched because I wanted it to work directly with the developer. I didn't want a middleman. I wanted there's going to be issues, there's going to be bugs. People come across issues all the time. So I wanted the developer to be readily accessible, like a text message away.
Yeah.
And that's who I found now. So I found him through Upwork and
Mhm.
I interviewed a ton of people. He's amazing. He doesn't just do stuff. He like shows me what he's doing and explains it to me. And like we get on Zoom and he shows me like screen share. So it's really cool to be so knowledgeable in an industry that I knew absolutely nothing about prior. And I'm talking like, I mean, it's like a whole new language
Yeah.
to learn.
Oh,
So that's been really cool. Like now I can hold my own when it comes to developers and the tech aspect of it. But it's been a hurdle,
yeah.
but I learned a lot.
For sure. And it sounds like you have been good at almost well, one, like listening to your instincts and pivoting when you need to, and almost setting those boundaries and doing what you need to do in business. What would you say is one of the almost like secrets to success of business, or one of the most important things you think it takes to succeed?
I think the biggest thing is communication. Um,
Mm.
I think that that was the issue with my first two developers. And I think setting expectations right off the bat is so important. So, I mean, even with this developer, like when I was interviewing people, my first question was like, do you work on weekends? And some people said no. And that's just not
Mhm.
going to work for me. Um, I I need somebody who's there 24/7. And it's not that I need them to work 24/7 because I know people have families and they're humans. But I need a response in a timely fashion. So if there's an issue and I'm like, "Hey, this person's having an issue," I would like a response and be like, "No problem, I'm on it. I'll work on it tomorrow or I'll work on it Monday," or whatever it may be, but I need a response.
Right.
Um, and so setting that expectation right off the bat was really important for me. And just knowing that the communication is going to be there is huge because with my previous developers, and even some VAs that I've hired in the past, it was like they'd go like dark for like 3, 4 days. I'm like, what is
Mm.
happening? Like, how do you work like that?
I need help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm.
even just like a question in an email. So, like I said, I think communicating, setting expectations right off the bat is the the number one thing in being successful.
Yeah. And you balanced a lot through this. Like you mentioned pregnancies, now you have your two kids. Like, what about that was there? What did you find was really helpful to you in being able to navigate and balance that alongside a business that is still very much in a growth phase for many years?
Yeah, that's something I'm still struggling with at the
Mhm.
moment. Um, I so the platform didn't launch until after my second daughter was born. So that was helpful because as I was building it, there wasn't too many time sensitive issues that would come up. So
Mhm.
I was able, to sorry, just got an alert that the connection was lost. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're good.
Okay. Um,
You're good.
so they're balancing everything is a learning process. And like I said, we had our daughter and then my platform launched 3 months later. So that was a nice little buffer that I had. And my husband also got out of the Marine Corps in June of 2021. And then we moved cross country back to California in August. And my platform launched beta November 1st. So everything kind of
Wow.
worked out in a way that as stressful as it was, like forecasting how it was going to happen, as it was happening, it was really nice. And then I have help. My daughter's in school every day from like 8 to 4. And my younger one, we have an amazing nanny. And my parents live 5 minutes away. So I've been really fortunate to have an amazing like tribe, I guess. Um,
Mhm.
but I spend time, and I try really hard on the weekends to do like minimal amount of work and to
Mhm.
really be present. And my husband travels like 4 to 6 weeks at a time. So when he's traveling, I get to work at night, but when he's not, I really try to spend time with him. So it's all a balancing act, but I think it's trial and error. You do things, some things you notice don't work, some things do work. Your business goes through different phases, where you may have more time, you may not have enough time. And so you really need to lean on people if you can, when you need.
Yeah, building that support system is so key. It sounds like you have a lot too around you, which is so nice with the kids and everything.
Yeah, it's so helpful. I mean, when my second daughter was born, um newborns are so easy. They nap, you can have calls, they don't hear anything. You're like, I'm on Zooms while nursing. I mean, it's great.
Mhm.
But then they start to crawl and they start to walk and they start to want to play all the time. So it just becomes a little bit more difficult and you just need to adjust. It's not their fault that their mom needs to work. So
Yeah,
I just I try my
balance it
best
all.
to be there.
Yeah. What would you say for the next year? Where are you headed with the platform?
So we are constantly changing. So I was doing like one masterclass a month for the community, and I have so many incredible women that want to teach, that I upped it to once a week. So we're just really improving the content. We're really focusing on digital marketing. So for the next year, I have already planned out weekly mastermind speakers, all showcased around digital marketing. So emails, social media, Pinterest, branding, copywriting, like everything that can help people grow and just working on building out, collaborations, building out more influencers, brands, just kind of tweaking the platform as needed and just growing. That's the
Yeah,
goal.
that sounds awesome. So much good value too for learning all those things or diving deeper on all of them.
Yeah, I mean, I was in the beginning, I was really focused around business and it's so broad. And I have a friend, two girlfriends that have an amazing business, and they kind of like talked me through like maybe I should niche down to just digital marketing, and it makes a lot of sense. It's always changing. People can always learn no matter what stage of business you're in. You can learn something new as far as digital marketing. Like everybody has different ways of doing stuff. It's a topic that everybody's interested in. And it brings so much value to your business by knowing all of
Right.
that.
Yeah, and it changes so much. It's like as soon as you get IGTV, and then it's Reels, then it's the it's like there's unlimited. Even if you do Instagram every year it'll probably be different as well.
Yeah, it's funny, like, um, a friend of mine, I'm gonna pull up a photo right now because I wanna share it with your listeners. So she was talking about, like, if you're in a rut when it comes to Reels, um, there's a website called title-generator.com.
Mm.
And you basically type in a keyword. So you type in like Instagram, and then all these different headline options will come up. So they give you ideas on what to post for reels, like top 3 Instagram hacks to bring awareness, for example.
Mm.
So yes, things are always changing, like you said,
Yeah.
and there is so much competition, and you have to stand out and you have to create valuable content for people to stay on your page, to follow you, to engage with you. And so that was something interesting that maybe your listeners can find some value out of.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
but yeah, things are always changing. And then you bring on people and they're like, oh, yeah, there's this website called titlegenerator.com. And they teach you about that. And you're like, wow, where has this been my whole life?
I needed this.
Yeah. But
That's
everybody has their own thing that they can help with. So it's been cool.
yeah. And so this podcast is the Bright Life podcast. So I love to hear as like a closing question, and then I'll have you share where we can find you and your platforms. But what for you is your version of your biggest, brightest life?
I mean, is it cliche to say my kids?
No, that's great. I love that it can be different for everyone. That's kind of the fun part. What comes up for different people.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's so cute right now because like one's almost 3, one's almost 1, and they're just the cutest friends together. Like my 3-year-old,
Oh.
when my 1-year-old wakes up, my older one's name is Sivan and my youngest is Maya. So Sivan will go up to Maya and be like, "Good morning, cutie pie," and like
Oh.
give her huge hug. And it's like we're in the thick of it. Like it's not easy. I just heard the term three-nager and it just like hit me like a ton of bricks, which is so true. But it's seeing them together, seeing them have that bond and that friendship and just watching it grow is so special to me. It really is, the
Aw,
brightest time of my life is just watching
that's
them.
so sweet. Oh, that's so fun. And those ages are the best, like you say, when they're just like best friends still and one watches over the other one. And it's just so cute.
Yeah, well, she, like, gives her this, like, huge hug around the neck sometimes, I'm like, "Ugh."
Go easy.
Yeah, 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 but it's cute, and then the younger one just, like, lights up when she sees her sister, so it's really cute.
Oh. So sweet. Well, you've shared so many amazing things like ideas, tips. I'm excited to check out more of what you're creating. But for anyone else listening, where are the best places to get in touch with you? And then I'll put the rest in the show notes.
Sure, so, the platform is called Like Minded Collective, and you can find it at likemindedcollective.com. And my Instagram is like.minded.collective. If anybody wants to check out the platform, I would love to give them 50% off their first month. So everybody gets 10 days free. But if anybody wants to try out the platform, I'll give them 50% off their first month. Just
Great.
put Bright Life 50,
Mhm.
and that'll work. So yeah, Instagram or my website, and through Instagram you can find my email and all the other links.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing about that. And then also just diving in to so much of your journey as well and the behind the scenes workings that people don't always know when they see something. They assume that it's someone else that could create it. But I just love hearing your story too, because it just shows that it was so much a process of just putting yourself out there and learning and trying what worked and finding the next thing. So thank you for sharing all of that.
Yeah, thank you so much. I did hear one thing that I wanted to share too. When you're
Yeah.
thinking about starting a business, just know it'll take twice as long and twice as much money as
Yep.
you initially think. So just
Yeah.
a little thing to just to bring you back to reality a little bit.
Yes, almost just like give yourself that time, and it doesn't mean don't start. It just means you'll fall in love with it along the way, so that amount will be worth it, but it's like just almost just give yourself the patience, right? That you need in the beginning when you think it'll all come together so fast and it's working so quick for everyone. It's like it's okay if it's twice the cost, twice the
Yeah.
time. You're right
Yeah,
on
and
schedule.
totally. And sorry not to like keep talking, but
No.
um I hired a digital marketing agency way too soon, where I thought I was going to be launching. I hired them a year too early. And although I learned a lot from them and they provided me a lot of value, I didn't get the return that I wanted because my platform wasn't launched. So I say it'll take twice as long and twice as much money just because I know when you're starting a business, you want like everything now. Like you want followers, you want users, you want to grow your email list, you want this, but like just know that that will happen. So don't rush to hire people. Don't rush to bring on, VAs or anything like that. Just really go slow and know that the timing will work out.
Yes. Cosign. Amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
If this episode resonated with you, I have something you are going to love. As you may know, part of what helps me create my own version of my brightest life is copywriting and content marketing. Building a content business helped me replace and surpass my corporate income, to see the world while working from anywhere, and to choose clients that light me up every single day. If you're at all curious about doing the same, I have broken it down for you in a copywriting starter kit, all the beginning steps you need to build your own profitable freelance business. I will link it in the show notes, so definitely check it out if you're interested. Thank you so much for being here, and I will chat with you next Thursday.